Secretary, when you talk about the individual tax rates, you're also talking about eliminating some of those tax breaks. Are you talking about eliminating tax deductions? And which ones are you talking about eliminating, and which ones are you talking about keeping?
Correct. We are going to eliminate on the personal side all tax deductions other than mortgage interest and charitable deductions. We think that will be sweeping reform. Adam.
Thank you, Secretary. When you talk about lowering dividends and capital gains taxes, how does that mesh with what you said this morning about protecting the middle class from the very, very wealthy who might be able to take advantage of, I don't know a better word than loopholes, but that would give them a lower tax rate?
Well, again, what we've said is that the business rate is going to be available for small and medium-sized businesses as well as corporations. However, we will make sure that there are rules in place so that wealthy people can't create pass-throughs and use that as a mechanism to avoid paying the tax rate that they should be on the personal side. And I would just say on the dividend rates, we believe that restoring the 20% capital gains rate is critical to investment in this country.
Secretary, just another question about your pass-throughs and all that. The initial plan that the president, as a candidate, outlined also included freelancer contract workers in that 15%. Wondering if that's the same. What's your rate on repatriation of funds overseas? And Gary Cohn, what about the marriage penalty? The president promised to eliminate that.
Okay, again, first I would comment on the rate of repatriation. We're working with the House and Senate on that, but I will say it will be a very competitive rate that will bring back trillions of dollars. And as it relates to the definition of contractors and things along those lines, again, those will be the details we will be working with Congress on as we turn this into a bill that will get signed by the president.
So as Secretary Mnuchin said, we are working very diligently with the House and the Senate on coming up with final details of the bill. You're going into very micro details on some of these. Very important. We agree. Very important. Our basic premise here is to simplify the tax system, lower rates, and make it easy. We don't want to penalize people. We want to make the system very fair. That is one of the things on our list that we're going to work on, just as Secretary Mnuchin said. We will get back to you with definitive answers on all these details.
So on the 10, 25, and 35% rates, do you have income brackets established that you're going to propose in Congress on that?
As again, we are in constant dialogue with the House and the Senate. As Secretary said, we're holding a bunch of listening groups right now. We have outlines. We have a broad brush view of where they're going to be. We're running an enormous amount of data on the proposals right now. We will be back to you with very firm details. We're very confident to where they're going to be. We're just wanted to get out and give you a broad brush overview where we are. The president very much believes in taking input, as the secretary said. Over the next month, we've got a lot of different discussions going with a lot of different groups that are interested.
Deductions, does that also mean state and local income taxes being eliminated, that deduction being eliminated? And how about health care?
Yes.
And how about health care?
Thank you. Mr. Secretary, thank you. And Mr. Cohn, either one of you. So when you talk about repealing the 3.8% Obamacare tax that hits small business and investment income, is this your first attempt, official first attempt, I guess, with this, to start pulling back on Obamacare? And also, what do you say to your fellow Republicans who say that this tax reform package is more about corporations versus cutting the deficit?
Look, this tax reform package is about growing the economy, creating jobs. It's about the economy. As I started, President Trump comes in every day and talks to the two of us about economic growth, economic prosperity, and jobs, and what are we doing to stimulate economic growth. That's how we're looking at this plan. The 3.8% tax on capital gains, dividends, and interest, the president looks at that very seriously as being a tax on capital being spent to stimulate economic growth, people putting investment capital to work, and people being taxed on their personal businesses. So we're trying to get rid of that to be more stimulative, to have capital go back into the economy to create more jobs.
So it's more business than Obamacare. Excuse me, I'm sorry, is it more business than attacking Obamacare?
It's business. It's to stimulate business investment. We are trying to stimulate business investment.
So on this, first of all, does it pay for itself? Is this plan revenue neutral? And secondly, what in here is non-negotiable? When this goes over to Congress, Congress comes back with a 20% corporate tax rate or a VAT added in, will the president refuse to sign that?
Okay, well, let me first say, again, the core principles of this, we've been meeting with the House and Senate, and they agree 100%. The core business is make business rates competitive, bring back trillions of dollars to create jobs, simplify personal taxes, create a middle income tax cut. So those core principles are non-negotiable, and that's something that we all feel strongly about. As it relates to will it pay for itself, again, I think as we've said, we're working on lots of details as to this. We have over 100 people in the Treasury that have been working on tax and scoring lots of different scenarios. This will pay for itself with growth and with reduction of different deductions and closing loopholes.
Mr. Secretary, if it turns out that the congressional estimates when this has been scored, if it turns out that this actually won't be paid for by growth, if it won't keep deficits in check, I mean, is the president comfortable with that? Will he sign something?
Well, let me just say again, when we look at the deficit, and the deficit has gone from $10 to $20 trillion in the last administration, that is a problem, and the president is concerned about that. This plan is going to lower the debt to GDP. The economic plan under Trump will grow the economy and will create massive amounts of revenues, trillions of dollars in additional revenues. Let's go in the back.
If you don't replace some of the revenue with a border adjustment tax, how will you make up for the deficit caused by the reduction in the corporate tax rate?
Okay, well, again, today we're putting out the core principles, which include rates, because we think that's a very important part of the plan. We will be working very closely, as I said, with the House and the Senate to turn this into a bill that can be passed and the president can sign. And there's lots and lots of details that will going into how that will pay for itself. Yes.
The territorial tax system, is that a border adjustment tax? Is it GRILLS? What is it?
No, a territorial tax system means that U.S. companies will pay income on income related to the U.S. So it's territorial. U.S. companies will not be subject to worldwide income, which has made them uncompetitive.
Is there reason to be concerned that perhaps the Republicans might not go along with this, just like they didn't fully go along with the Obamacare replacement?
Again, I think that there's a lot of desire from everybody to pass tax reform. As Gary said, we are at a historic moment, and Republicans and Democrats want to create jobs and want to help the American people. And as I said, the core principles of this we have agreement on, and we will work forward on the details. Let's go in the back.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Quick question. You bring up repeal of the death tax, the estate tax. This is an issue that's been going on for decades, and it used to be they were always talking about phasing out the death tax over a period of years. Groups such as Jim Martin's 60 Plus Seniors Association said they wouldn't accept it and want an immediate killing of the death tax. Is that what this is going to be, or is it going to be a phase-out measure again?
Right now, our initial proposal is to immediately phase out, when this proposal becomes effective, to phase out the death tax immediately.
When you say phase immediately?
With the implementation of the new tax, the death tax would disappear.
Secretary, I've got two questions. One, this is obviously a statement of core principles. It's just one page. Obviously, tax reform will be much more complicated. When will we see the details? When will we see the actual plan?
We are moving as quickly as we can. So we are working with the House and Senate on all the details, and this is, everybody has an agreement. We are going to move this as fast as we can, and when we have an agreement, we will release the details and go through it with all of you.
My second question is, will the president release his tax returns so that
The president
Americans...
has no intention. The president has released plenty of information, and I think has given more financial disclosure than anybody else. I think the American population has plenty of information on this. Right there. Excuse me, other people have the right to ask questions.
Will affect him personally.
My question is to either you, Mr. Secretary, or Mr. Cohn, you mentioned middle-class tax cuts for middle-class families watching this tonight on the news. Family of 4, median income, $60,000. What does it mean for them?
It's going to mean a tax cut.
How much?
Going to mean a tax cut. Look,
Okay, why don't we-
you're asking the same question we got asked over here. We will let you know these specific details at the appropriate moment. We are in very robust discussions with the Senate, with the House leadership. They are progressing very quickly, and we will continue to give you more details as we have them.
Okay, we're going to take two more, right back here in the fourth row, yes. Yes.
Mnuchin, exactly a year ago, then candidate Trump was asked if he believes in raising taxes on the wealthy. He said, I do, including myself, I do. So my question is, why isn't he doing that? And will the president end up paying more or less taxes as a result of this plan?
Well, let me just comment. I can't comment on the president's tax situation since I don't have access to that, okay? But I would comment that our objective, okay, is the reduction in taxes will be offset by significant reduction of deductions and other items so that the effective tax rate, okay, is what we're focused on. Why don't we take one more question right here? Yes.
You may not have
Yes.
seen the president's tax returns, but according to our estimations by his 2005 returns that are out there, getting rid of the alternative minimum tax would save him 5.3. He would only have paid 5.3 million in federal income taxes. So your response to those critics who say a lot of what you've presented here today could save the president or benefit his own businesses?
Again, let me just comment. What this is about is creating jobs and creating economic growth. And that's what massive tax cuts and massive tax reform and simplifying the system is what we're going to do. The AMT is just another example of a third complicated set of rules. Anyway, thank you, everybody. Appreciate you guys being here.
The president's been flexible on other matters. Do you think he could change his mind on releasing his tax returns?